We're pinning Pole DFS. I'm Keaton, and Ricky is not here this week. So we're going to do something a little bit different this week. I'm going to run through the Valspar Championship, our slideshow, talk about the tournament, my picks, and then Ricky will chime in on Twitter with his picks this week. But wanted to get something out on Tuesday rather than waiting till Wednesday so we could get this out. So getting right into it, we've got our weekly show beer this week. It is Mango Tango Foxtrot IPA. From Deep River Brewing in, I don't know, somewhere outside of Chapel Hill, because we drove there when we were in law school a couple times. Probably maybe 30 minutes outside of Chapel Hill. Maybe it's closer to Raleigh. But good beer. Cheers. Solid IPA, yep. Thanks to our viewers. Like and subscribe. Leave us a comment below with your pick to win this week. Those comments really help out a lot. That YouTube algorithm helping us show up in people's searches. And maybe get a couple new viewers out of it. So last week's recap, I had a shot on goal. I finished 12th in the birdie. Things could have broke a little bit different on Sunday to give me a little better run. I think I was third at one point, but didn't end up going. But a shot on goal is a shot on goal, so that was a fun sweat. Alternate tournament, that team's event that we had last week at the Zurich Classic. But Ricky had to one-up me and took down his first DFS tournament. I wish he could be here to talk about it, but Ricky won a NASCAR tournament on Super Draft. I actually think he won one and finished second in two others, or maybe he won two and finished second in one with the same lineup. But in any event, awesome go, Ricky on NASCAR. So check out our NASCAR show, usually on Thursdays, if you want to talk about NASCAR DFS. I am learning. Ricky is a big fan. I'm a big DFS player, and so it's fun to kind of mash our perspectives up on that tournament, or on that show. Getting on to this week, the Valspar. We're going to run through the course and the field. We'll run through the Vegas favorites, odds, and the DraftKings player pool, and then my picks since Ricky isn't here this week. I've done some preliminary research, and I guess one thing I'll touch on that I don't necessarily think I've talked about too much on prior shows, and I probably should do a standalone show. I know I keep saying I'll do standalone shows, and I really need to, but with work and everything, sitting down and writing a script's been difficult. But one of the things I want to touch on is kind of how I do my research each week. So if you're not a member of Fantasy National Golf Club, highly recommend joining Fantasy National. I believe it's $10 a month. If you look at like Pat Mayo, it's his website. He usually has promo codes running. Same with Tour Junkies. I believe they usually have a 20% off code as well. So you can usually get 20% off codes out there. $10 a week. I believe it is $150, maybe $200 for the season, but well worth it. They get their stats directly from the PGA Tour, but they do it, their interface is very user friendly, so you can build custom models, which is typically what I do each week when I'm looking at an event. I'll look at the event, how golfers performed well in this event previously and what they did well, the type of golfers that do well, and then you can build a custom model. So you can build 15% weighted average to strokes gained approach, 15% par 4 scoring, whatever your custom model is, Bermuda putting 10%, whatever you feel is the optimal player mix for the course or event that week. You can build the model, and then you can sort if you want to look at data from the last 20 rounds, last 30 rounds, last 50 rounds, whatever it is, how far you want to look back, so you can sort of see players that have been hot on the things you're looking for versus players that have maybe a little bit better long-term form on some of the factors that you're looking at. So that's usually where I start my research each week. Fantasy National, building out a custom model, looking at the players that maybe don't match with their DraftKings salary, and those players that I maybe want to get overweight on. And so this week, actually, we see a lot of the same players popping in that model that we've seen actually the last few weeks, because the approach is another approach course. It's not going to be as long off the tee as some of the other courses we've seen. So that model did kick back a lot of the same golfers that we've seen. So that was interesting to see this week. But moving on, so this is our last week recap. I finished 12th, and actually the same roster finished 55th in the Resurgence, which was the big 200K to first tournament. So not quite a shot on goal. 55th didn't quite get there, but this is the lineup. We had Cam Smith and Mark Leishman, the winners of the tournament. Horschel and Burns and Snedeker and Mitchell, who tied at 4th. Duncan and Schneck finished at 11th, and then Redmond and Ryder tied for 17th, and then Straka and Trader 29th. And then I say here, Ricky the one-upper shipped a Super Draft NASCAR tournament on Sunday, so yeah, be sure to check out our NASCAR episodes on Thursday or Friday. Whenever those drop, we'll always break down the Cup race, and we'll usually talk a little bit about Xfinity or trucks, but primarily focus on the Cups race that week. So moving on to Valspar. We've got the Innisbrook Resort. It is a massive resort in Palm Harbor, Florida, northwest of Tampa. They have 600 hotel rooms, over 600 hotel rooms, 4 golf courses. The course we're playing is called the Copper. I should know that. Something about a snake. Copperhead. That makes a ton more sense. The Copperhead, par 71, 7,300 and change yards. And this will be our last of the Florida courses for this summer. It just gets too damn hot to play a tournament in Florida much longer this year. So this will be the last of our Florida courses for the swing. Looking down at prior winners, 2020 was canceled for COVID. And then 2019, 2018, Paul Casey won back-to-back years. In 2018, knocking out Reed and Woods to win, and in 2019, beating Kokrak and Oosthuizen. Adam Hadwin actually shot one of the lowest rounds we've seen from a winner here. When he won, he posted a -14. I know we'll talk about here in a minute. This is a tough course. I believe Casey was -10 when he won in 2019 and -8 when he won in 2018. Hadwin won at -14. I believe Charles, when he won, was also -10, and Spieth was 7. And so we see a lot of winners under 10 under or above 10 under, with the exception of that Adam Hadwin year when he shot -14. Wish my formatting was a little bit better here. But so again, Copperhead course, wish I had seen that on the last slide. Very difficult, about -10 or under for the winner. Right now we're looking clear, but with a Florida breezy. So we will see those, 10 to 12 to 15 mile an hour with higher gusts, which under 15 probably doesn't have a ton of impact on the game. Once you're getting a 15 and above, especially with some gusts higher end of that, you certainly see it affect the play and some of the balls out there. So this course has what is called the Snake Pit. So we have talked about some of the illustriously named stretches on some recent courses, and this one is no different. So we see here, you are now entering the Snake Pit on this as we enter the 16th hole. So 16, 17, 18 are the 3 most difficult holes on the course. 16 is a par 4, 475, hard dogleg right with water along the entire right side of the course. 17 is going to be pretty standard for this course. Is just a long par 3 with guarded greens. All the par 3s here are over 200 yards. So this is 215 par 3 with a guarded green, lots of bunkers all around. I think this one actually has bunker and trees along the edge. And then 18 is 445 par 4 uphill, and you see the uphill. This is something that we don't see a lot in Florida courses, but we do see at this course. Is there's serious elevation changes all over this course, and so I guess maybe similar to what we see at Augusta, where guys hitting their irons, the distances aren't quite as square for some of the guys that don't have as much elevation play in their history. And so this is an uphill approach, and it's a seriously sloping green back to front, and so it's just tough to stick. And so we see a lot of guys 2-putting or more on this, and ending up with, I think this is the second hardest hole behind 16. So this course does favor approach. It's, again, we have small greens, not as small as 2 weeks ago, but another small greens course. So a strong approach game, and around the green, same thing. With a small green, you're going to have guys missing, and so we need that scrambling, that around the green, in order to be successful. And then back on Bermuda. So I know Ricky kind of put me to the test last week, asking, so who are some of the Bermuda specialists? So I came to be prepared this week. Some guys we've seen overall in better splits on Bermuda are Kirk, Burns, Sabatini, and Woodland in this field, or have some of the highest splits for Bermuda, meaning they putt better on Bermuda than on Bent or POA. And so while this is technically an overseeded Bermuda, since we are later in the season, almost into May, that Bermuda should be a lot stronger rather than the POA that it's been overseeded with. So I guess real quick for background there, Bermuda dies off in the winter, and so in order to keep greens green, courses down in Florida will seed usually with POA grass, which stays green year round, to make the greens greener. But then they truly aren't Bermuda greens when they're overseeded like that. And so as we get later in the season, those Bermuda greens, like we see here, most likely should be leaning more heavy heavily towards a true Bermuda surface. So our field, we have 154 golfers. We started the week with 154 golfers. I know we're down quite a few already. 4, I believe, withdrawn for COVID. I know they've been replaced. I don't have the replacements here. I know if you register on DraftKings, they do a really good job of shooting you out anytime they change the field. So, but right now we've got Hatton was out with COVID, Straka, Gordon, and Garnett, Will Gordon. These are guys that we actually saw play last week, so you wonder maybe they were doing a little partying at the Zurich Classic and disobeying COVID protocols. Who knows? I wanted to touch a minute on this Monday Q story. Michael Vasecki. So if you're not familiar with PGA Tour, they have what's called a Monday qualifier, and how that works are, depending on the size of the course, they'll either play a couple days ahead of time for the right to play on the Monday qualifier, or guys can show up on Monday, guys or gals, sorry, can show up on Monday, pay their set fee, I believe it's $200, play their round, and the winner, I believe it's usually 2 for PGA, get to play the real event. And so Michael Vasecki has been a 7-year pro. He's been crushing the West Florida Tour. I believe he's there twice, the highest winning money earner last season by twice the next closest player. But again, that was like 35 grand, right? So it's a very much a small alternate tour. He's been trying to qualify for 7 years on the PGA Tour. And if you follow any of the PGA Tour Twitters, I'm sure you've seen the video of him sinking a 20-foot putt to qualify, breaking down in tears, hugging his playing mates, and then he gets on the phone with his dad in tears, tells him he made it. Just a good story. And the more I read about this guy, he just seems like a good guy. So wanting to cheer for Michael Vasecki. The Qs, I know we talked about a little bit when we talked about Corey Connors had won in 2019 at the course he Monday Q'd on, and then ended up winning the tournament. We talked about how rare that is. I think it's happened 4 times since the 70s. But God, you'd love to see a guy like Vasecki get on and win and get a tour card out of it. But yeah, I just thought I'd touch on his Monday Q story because it was super cool. If you want more on Monday Q, check out it's at a case of. Oh shoot, I'm gonna mess up his Twitter handle. I'll put it down in the show notes. There's a guy that does an awesome Monday Q Twitter handle that covers all Monday Qs, alternate tours. If you ever want to know what's going on in African Golf Tour, dude's all over it. So I'll put his Twitter handle down in the show notes because he's definitely worth a follow if you're into just into golf generally. He's a really good follow. So moving on to the Vegas odds this week. We see some of our favorites up here that we see time and time again. What's interesting is DJ is finally slipping from being our odds-on favorite every week to now being the second highest on the board. So we've got JT at plus 1,000, and he's our highest priced golfer at 11,500. Then moving down, we have DJ at plus 1,200, and he's our second highest priced golfer at 11,200. And then here's where you get interesting because you get some splits. The next highest priced golfer, I believe, is going to be 10.5 Hovland, but we see him at plus 2,200. We have this set of 2 plus 2,200, Connors and Reed. Connors at 9,600. The Vegas books are just scared of him at plus 2,000. He's going to be the uber chalk this week. Anytime you see a discrepancy like this, where Vegas is saying this guy's got a 1 in 20 shot to take this tournament down, but DraftKings has him priced as whatever he is, the 10th highest, most expensive golfer. The ownership's going to come there, so you can see Connors being super high owned. With that said, I'm going to have my share. He's just striking the ball too well right now, and even though putting isn't his thing, he's been putting really well. So, yeah, I'll have more than my fair share of Coco this week. And same with Patrick Reed, actually. I feel like Reed, we've been talking about getting disrespected in terms of pricing. He's always kind of been like the 7th, 8th highest priced golfer, even though he should be the 3rd, 4th, 5th best player in the field. But here he's actually priced up a little bit, but I still like Reed this week. He's just a good ball striker. I feel like this course fits him pretty well. And then Paul Casey, who's going for the three-peat. He's not Tiger Woods. He's probably not going to three-peat. But that said, like, I mean, if we were cheering on Paul Casey or thinking he was a good DFS play at some of the other recent tournaments that we've played Casey at, I know I was pretty high on Casey, like the Players and a few other tournaments. So, yeah, Yeah, I mean, I can see Casey also being super popular this week, going for the three-peat, and I can see him probably being worth it. So Casey, I may be at or slightly under the field, but I'll definitely have Casey in my lineups this week. And then turning to Victor Hovland. Hovland's going to win a tournament very soon. He's just been too good, too close. He would have been much stronger contention in a few other tournaments. He just had a few bad holes that are kind of uncharacteristic for him. But yeah, I really like Hovland this week. And then some of the sleepers, some of the guys that are priced a little bit lower. Nice, Taylor Gooch is evidently free on DraftKings this week. I think he's 7,600. But yeah, looking at some of the guys that are a little bit longer odds that I think still have a good chance to compete and or at least better chance than their odds give them. I think Dennis McCarthy sets up really nicely for this course at plus 10,000. Same with Taylor Gooch at plus 9,000. Sam Horsfield is a player that's coming over from the European Tour. Particularly on DraftKings, I like him because I think his ownership will be super low, given that he's a Euro Tour player. We see Euro Tour players generally have low ownership, just that I think the general populace isn't as familiar with them. But then this is a guy we haven't seen really play on the PGA Tour at all this year, and not at all since the COVID break. And so this is an opportunity to play a golfer that most people will not have heard of, but he has been top 10s pretty consistently in the Euro Tour. Young guy, so definitely worth a look at Sam Horsfield, particularly on DK. I don't know that he's going to come out and win his first event over in the States at plus 15,000, but I love him at 7,400 on DraftKings. I think his ownership will be like 1%, so definitely worth, and that'll all be me, so definitely worth getting your share of Sam Horsfield. Next guy up is Matthew Naismith. I feel like I tout Naismith every week. Naismith's just a great ball striker. In terms of stats, he is top 15 and top 20 in my model, but he's top 50, 60, 70 in pricing at 7,100 and plus 1,750 to win. And then Sabatini's another guy that's gets hot and cold, but strikes the ball well, and I think sets up well for this course. So we actually see he had a runner-up finish, I think, earlier on our chart. So good to see Sabatini down here. I will have him in my player pool. I probably won't be betting it at plus 1,750, but we'll have him in my DraftKings player pool. One guy that we don't have up here because he withdrew is Hatton, and I actually really liked Hatton at plus 2,800, and I had actually bet Hatton at 2,800, so I'm trying to figure out what they do for that. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. So moving on to DraftKings pricing, we see a much more normal pricing this week. I know last week we talked about the Zurich, just absolutely insane top-heavy pricing. So here we get back to normal. Only 2 golfers in the 11K and 3 golfers in the 10K. So starting our top, we have JT and DJ. DJ, we saw him get back to a little bit better form at RBC, the Heritage event. And I think that was an event where a lot of people thought he could phone it in because he was required to play as an RBC sponsor. But he still came up and posted a good score, finished T14 when he absolutely didn't have to come out and play. So I think that bodes well for DJ. I think if he can get his irons back under control, he's going to win a tournament by 5 strokes. So I think that's – and any given tournament, DJ can do that. So I will have DJ in my pool. Probably not a ton, maybe about 10% DJ, but that's probably enough to get you at or close to the field. JT, I love JT. JT is an elite iron player, which I think this course demands, particularly like the second shot we talked about. You may take an iron off the tee and then have to take an iron in. And so I think that sets up well for a player like JT. He's just so expensive compared to some guys that I like more. Like for $1,000 less, I'm not sure I like Victor Hovland any less than JT. And so that makes JT a tough play. But same with DJ. He's the type of golfer that can win this tournament by 5 strokes. So I will have a little bit of Justin, probably more from a FOMO aspect than anything. But with his price, he won't be in my main lineup. He just makes it really, really hard to justify at his price tag. There's just a lot of other guys that are lower priced that I think provide similar upside. Number 1 on my list being Victor Hovland, right down there that we just talked about at 10.5. And then Patrick Reed, I think he's been disrespected on price the last few weeks, but here we actually see him get a bump. I kind of thought he'd be closer to 97, 9,800 this week. So we see him bumped up to 10.3. And that's probably pretty right for Patrick Reed, especially in this field. He probably is the 5th best player in this field. or fourth best player. So I won't have a ton of Patrick Reed, though I do like him this week. I just think he's more efficiently priced, and we'll see some guys down lower that are there's just a little more value there, even though they may not have quite the upside. And then Paul Casey, the last one on that list, just want to touch on going for the three-peat. He just sets up well at this course. They have made it a little longer since he won in 2019 and 2018. They added about 150 yards. I don't think that's going to be a huge difference, but for someone like Casey that doesn't necessarily strike the ball super far, maybe that's some concern, or maybe it's just a reason to split hairs and not play Casey as much. I think his ownership's also going to be really high, and whereas someone like, we talked about Coco's ownership being super high, I'm willing to eat that chalk. I don't know that I'm willing to eat the chalk on Casey this week. So depending on how ownership goes and how it shakes out towards as tomorrow goes on, I may or may not get on Casey as tomorrow goes on. I like him here, but like I said, it just may be a little too expensive and a little too high ownership. So going down this list, I think you could start right at this list and the 9K range and have no problem. If you didn't put any of the 11 and 10K golfers in your pool, I don't think you're giving yourself a serious disadvantage. You're certainly not killing win equity. So some guys down here that I absolutely love. I'm going to talk Scheffler real quick. I like Scheffler every week, but I'm going to skip on to Scheffler because Coco, I think, is getting all the love this weekend for good reason. He sets up so well at this course. We've just seen him be on fire recently. I think Coco comes out and gets a W this week. So he was my first guy I bet this week. I think I got him at plus 2,200, but it feels like tough odds for Coco. We've seen him much higher and much lower priced, but he's just been playing too well. So I'll have my fair share. Hatton was a guy I really liked until he withdrew with COVID, so that's a bummer. And then moving down, Answer and Sungjae M. Sungjae M was someone that moving through the Florida swing, like he has played well in Florida and kind of thought he would do better down here. And so this is his last shot for the season. And so to the extent you think Sungjae gets it done in Florida, this is it. Time to shit, Sungjae. Let's go. And so I will have Sungjae because I do think there's a chance he can just come out, get a W. He plays well. But there's not a golfer on this board that I don't like, honestly. Abe Answer, like every week. Joaquin Niemann, like every week. And Russ Henley, who, this is by far the most we've seen Russ Henley priced at $9,000. It's absolutely nuts for Russ Henley. But that said, like, he's been playing really well. And so it may be nuts for Russ Henley, but I don't know. That's what I'm going back and forth. The price tag is so high. If he was $8,200, I'd probably have a lot more Henley. $9K is just expensive, but he has been playing elite, and so I probably will find a way to fit him in, depending on ownership. Moving down is the guys, I actually don't like the top of this range. I don't like Bubba. I don't like Justin Rose. I know that's my bias towards older golfers. I like the young guys. I know I rail on these older guys all the time, calling them journeymen. And Rose we saw come out and play really well, and actually we saw him play pretty well at Zurich last week. And same with Bubba. I mean, I think Bubba's a guy that when he wants to win or wants to play well, he can play well, or when the course is like a Bubba course. And that's not really a Bubba course. It's not as long off the tee. Bubba's going to have a hard time keeping it in the fairway here, I think. But, yeah, I don't like Bubba this week. He's expensive, and there's guys I like below him a lot more. Kokrak being one. He has a runner-up here. He's playing well. He's in good form. And if someone could get him some Nike, better-fitting clothes from Nike, he'd be well on his way to taking down some tournaments. But no, in all seriousness, I do like Kokrak. He's been playing well. Good ball striker, which is exactly what we're looking for here, which is the same thing just said for Charlie Hoffman. Good form, good ball striker. I guess you could really say that honestly about these next. Really, I mean, down to Kevin Na, you could say Ryan Palmer, good ball striker, good form. Tringale, good striker, good form. Grillo, this is like very expensive for Grillo. He's played well, and I guess that's why he's getting the bump here. But he's our 7K golfer normally. 8,300 Grillo seems expensive. So that's probably someone, if I was going to cut from this area, I'd probably cut Grillo. Not because I don't like him and don't think he's a good golfer. I just think that's expensive relative to where we've seen him. And then Max Homa, we've seen him play well. Not a terrible price tag relative to where he normally is. I don't love Kevin Na. I know he's a good golfer. I know his shorter courses, iron play sets up better for him. I I don't know. I can't put my thumb on it. I just don't love Kevin Na. And then Taylor Gooch actually got some love. If you watch the PGA coverage, the Golf Channel coverage last week, at the end of the event, I think they were doing a a wrap-up, talking about this week. And I can't remember who the announcer is giving his picks of the week. And Taylor Gooch got some love as his pick for this week to come out and win it. So that was funny. But another player that's playing well, strikes the ball well, should set up well on this course. Moving down to the 79 to 7,500 range, you get Keegan Bradley, who we always love on striking. It's which Keegan are you going to see? Good Keegan, bad Keegan? And funny enough, this is actually the course where Pulling a Keegan got its name. So Keegan went from round 1 leader to missing the cut on Friday, which is absolutely incredible. So yeah, Pulling a Keegan got its name from this course. So be wary, but I mean, he's someone that maybe wants to avenge that poor showing, and just when he gets on, he's so good. Burns is someone I get on way too much and absolutely kills me, but I will continue to go to the well with Burns. I think he's too talented not to get it done at some point. Woodland's shut up well at this course. He putts well on Bermuda, we talked about earlier. He's played well here historically. I think this course sets up well for Woodland's skill set, at least maybe like a younger Woodland skill set. I don't know how we'll see how he's been playing recently, but you could always get a vintage performance out of him. Kevin Strelman and Kevin Kistner, I think both guys set up well here. Kisner's talked about he likes longer or shorter courses. So now that this one's been extended a little bit, kind of that mid-length 7,300 at a par 71, maybe this isn't a Kisner course. But Strelman, again, is another guy that just strikes the ball, elite iron player. Moving down, the other guy I like down here is Dennis McCarthy, just another guy that strikes his irons well and sets up on this type of course well. And so then Cam Champ withdrew after that kind of poor Sunday performance. We saw him and Finau start Sunday as the leaders and melt down. Was Charles the leader? They may have been second place. But melt down pretty quickly and finish, T4, maybe T7. Hard to remember. But yeah, Champ withdrew after that last week's performance. Understandable after a long tournament and a heartbreaking Sunday. So starting this long list of 7,400 and below, we have Sam Horsfield, who we talked on briefly. He's the European player coming over, playing here. First tournament here this year. I think he sets up well at this course. I'm always leery of seeing Europeans come over with a little bit of lag, making the trip, adjusting, yada, yada, whatever. But I think his ownership is going to be so low that on DraftKings, at least, I will have my share of Sam Horschel. Just like I said, just as mostly an ownership play. I think he'll be maybe sub 1% even. And just the leverage you get from a player like that if he goes out and puts up a top performance, that's GPP winning type leverage. So going down this list, I don't have anyone else until you get down to Doug Gim and Patton Kazari that I really like. I know if Ricky was here, he'd probably tell you he likes Zach Johnson. And I do like Ian Poulter a little bit, as long as we're talking about old men playing golf. And then Matthew Naismith, he rates top 20 in the model that I ran this week. He's just an elite ball striker, and I think his price is too low. So I'm going to continue to roster Naismith until he bankrupts me. And then as you move down, Charles had that good performance last week with Usti, and he's played well at this course. I believe he's got a runner-up finish. So that's someone else you can watch. Luke List is someone that seems to come out of nowhere and play well in a random Florida course. So if you want to take a flyer on Luke List, I guess you could. And then Keith Mitchell, we saw play really well last week. I think he sets up well in shorter courses. So while this one's kind of been extended to be more of a mid-length course, Keith Mitchell's probably someone else I will still have in my player pool this week. So some of our sub 7K value plays that we like, or that I like, I guess. Richie Wierenski is 6,900. Ryan Moore is still continuously at 6,900. I don't know why Ryan Moore is so cheap. Nick Taylor, 6,700. Same with Chase Seifert, 6,600. He's an not an elite ball striker, but he's a very good ball striker. Better than $6,600 worth, that's for sure. His approach game and scramble scores have also been really good. Roger Sloan is someone that's I don't want to say safe to make the cut, but safer to make the cut for a lower priced guy. We've seen him perform pretty well in medium strength fields. And so he's someone, if I was looking for someone down in that range just to make the cut, I would plug him in. And then Nick Watney has never missed the cut at the Valspar. I believe he's 13 for 13 at this course, maybe 14 for 14 at this course. So that's pretty damn impressive, actually. And so, again, if you're looking for someone just to make the cut, I don't know how much upside Watney has. Although we did see him play with Charlie Hoffman and actually to start their best ball round on Friday or on Thursday, Watney came out the gate and shot birdie, four birdies. So before Hoffman could even get going. So maybe Watney is not totally washed, and you have the course history to fall back on. So if you're looking for someone cheap, Watney's down there and worth playing. And then I didn't include him on here. I probably should have. Our boy Michael Vasecki, our Monday Q guy, is $6,000 flat. So if you want a true flyer, you'll be the only one to own Michael Vasecki. But yeah, some of our favorites this week. I know I've touched on a lot of these guys, and I touch on a lot of these guys every week. But guys that I think stand out well. I know Patrick Reed probably from a pricing aspect may not be there, but Victor Hovland, again, he's been priced up this week, but man, he plays well, and he's going to take one down. He's got to. He's too good. He's been playing just right there, and he's going to get one done. And then Coco. I think, honestly, Hovland and Coco are my two 1 and 2 picks to win this week. Sanjay's probably my third. And then moving down, always love Tringale. Chris Kirk, man, I want him to win. Sam Horsfield, our guy coming over from Europe. And then Naismith, the young buck with the ultimate ball striking. So I think all these guys present some pretty serious upside. And honestly, if any of these guys took a tournament down, I wouldn't be surprised. So Naismith may surprise me a bit, but the other guys definitely wouldn't. So last reminder, we're going to do a standalone show just kind of talking about this. But next week we have tickets to Monday and Wednesday practice rounds and the Friday tournament round for the Wells Fargo Championship here at Quail Hollow in Charlotte. So we'll go buy some swag and we'll do some giveaways. If you got an idea for a giveaway, leave that in the notes below. Let me know you've watched this far of me doing a solo show and just talking for 32 and a half minutes straight. So if you made it this far, please leave me a comment. Let me know who you're going to play this week and who your pick to win is. And if you have any idea for how we should give away some swag from the Wells Fargo tournament, probably get some cool polos. This one's a Mickey Mouse one, not a Wells Fargo one, but similar type cool Nike Golf Polo type swag. So leave us a note. Let us know. Thanks for watching this far. Ricky, wish you had been here. Ricky will get on Twitter and give you his picks of the week. Later.